Last week, students taking a top Brazilian university entrance exam were surprised to open their exam booklets and find questions about Taylor Swift song lyrics. To some students, it may have been comforting to see a familiar passage, but others were upset and considered it to be an embarrassing inclusion. I managed to track down a copy of the exam and the answer key. So in this video, I'm going to go through the exam, see if I can wrap my head around the Taylor Swift questions, and also look at some of the other strange questions to see if I can understand what all the fuss is about. The exam itself is called FUVEST and is an entrance exam for the University of Sao Paulo, widely considered the best university in Latin America. This year, 107,000 students registered to take the exam, but there will be only 8,700 university spots. FUVEST is one of the most competitive entrance exams for Brazilian school leavers. So let's take a look at it. I have here a translated version. The FUVEST exam is split in two parts, the first being this 90-minute multiple choice test. Students have 5 hours to answer questions about Portuguese language, literature, math, physics, chemistry, biology, geography, history, and English. Many of the questions are interdisciplinary and test multiple areas at once. Let's flick straight to the Taylor Swift questions. Here they are, questions 41 and 42, which refer to this passage. These are lyrics from her song I Hate It Here from the Tortured Poets Department album. Some students might have seen these lyrics for the first time here on the exam. Others will have listened to the song many times already since it came out in April this year. It starts, "Quick, quick, tell me something awful, like you are a poet trapped inside the body of a finance guy. Tell me all your secrets, all you'll ever be is my eternal consolation prize. You see, I was a debutante in another life, but now I seem to be scared to go outside. If comfort is a construct, I don't believe in good luck, now that I know what's what." The rest of the song talks about going to secret gardens in your mind or to the past as a way to escape. Question 41 asks about the meaning of the line, "like you are a poet trapped inside the body of a finance guy." Does it A, praise the romanticization and idealization of past eras? B, highlight the role of external contexts in managing frustrations? C, express the feeling of dissatisfaction or inadequacy in relation to social expectations? D, criticize the revelation of secrets and the breaking of personal boundaries? Or E, emphasize the importance of luck and cultural elements as myths and rituals? I found this pretty difficult, even as a fan of the song. Taylor Swift's songs all come together to tell stories about her life, and I interpreted this first verse to be about her previous relationship with Joe Alwyn and the breakdown of that relationship, which in other songs she describes as sad and drawn out. Famously, she withdrew from the spotlight while dating Joe, and they would write songs together, living a private life. To me, that's what "I was a debutante in another life, but now I seem to be scared to go outside" means. He is her consolation prize for losing her previous bejeweled life. When she says, "Quick, quick, tell me something awful," to me it feels like a desperation to find inspiration somewhere that she can use to write songs because she's struggling to find any inspiration in her real life. Saying "like you are a poet trapped inside the body of a finance guy," I always thought she was talking to Joe to try and use some of his creativity or inattention. I would have struggled to pick between A and C. A, because I feel like the song itself is written from the perspective of someone looking back at a bad relationship with more clarity than you would have if you were still in it. The song kind of romanticizes past eras of hers, such as Folklore and Evermore, which are the albums that contain songs she and Joe wrote together. But C is also relevant, and perhaps more so. It expresses the feeling of dissatisfaction or inadequacy in relation to social expectations. Without overthinking all of the lore, this answer is the best match. The finance guy is who you become trying to fit into society's expectations of a good job and a respectable career, whereas the poet trapped inside is the creative soul longing to be free. The official answer key says that C is the correct answer. I suppose A should be ruled out because the line doesn't actually praise the romanticization of the past. If anything, the song is doing the opposite, saying later that nostalgia is a mind's trick, and if I'd been there, I'd hate it. It was freezing in the palace. To me, she's saying that to romanticize the past is a trap or a coping mechanism. Question 42 says, in the text, the perception of comfort as a construct indicates that the lyrical self sees comfort as A. A mental refuge to appease the pressures and discontent of life. B. Conception linked to childhood experiences and mechanisms of confrontation. C. Presupposed concept dependent on people's concrete reality. D. Difficulty in having self-affirmation due to issues pending internal. Or E, something created by society producing a false sense of security. To me, A almost works, but E fits as a better answer because of how that line finishes with, I don't believe in good luck. She's saying that if comfort is just a construct, so not real, then I don't believe in it or anything else, like luck. She's losing faith in these concepts. And luck too is just a construct that gives a false sense of security. This is a tricky line though, and it doesn't seem that obvious. The answers say that E is indeed the correct one. There's certainly a level of critical reading needed here, but it's an odd thing to be tested on a song you might be a fan of, because Taylor, like many songwriters, is good at writing songs that can be interpreted in many different ways. I wouldn't like for an exam to tell me I'm wrong in whatever meaning of my own I attach to a song. This same album includes a song called The Manuscript, in which Taylor sings about her old songs and ends with the lyric, "But the story isn't mine anymore," as if to say, once a song is out there, it's no longer her story, but it belongs to the listeners. This exam was held exactly 1 year after Taylor brought the Eras Tour to Brazil, and the test writers received some criticism for trying to play into the hype with these questions. The executive director of the exam, Gustavo Monaco, even had to come out and give a statement. He said, "I can guarantee that the music was not there just for the sake of it or to cause trouble. The music was there for a purpose, which was to discuss a deeper and more important topic." The song's inclusion makes more sense when you look at the rest of the exam and realize it contains all kinds of modern references. In the same paper, there is a Calvin and Hobbes cartoon and a Donald Trump cartoon. There's mention of cancel culture, illegal mining, and gender equality. These topics are all culturally impactful and can help us understand people and the world we live in. In question 6, Trump's speech bubble is saying illegal immigrants bring crime, drugs, and violence. And then these people on the right are saying, we know. Above that is a 2013 quote from a philosopher saying that in understanding another human being, I will soon come across the fact that just as his body is in my field of perception, so my body is in his, and that in general he experiences me, without further ado, as an other for him, just as I experience him as an other for me. Then the question continues, saying that this is a reflection on how each person establishes relationships with others. This idea helps to understand the critical perspective contained in the cartoon. Certain conditions or characteristics that we perceive as derogatory in other people can also be perceived in the same way by others in us. Which situation reproduces this structure of equivalence shown in the cartoon? The correct answer here is C, which says, afraid of violence, a man begins to carry a gun on the street and scares passers-by. Question 7 is a Peanuts comic. The very first question is about Indigenous issues in Brazil and includes the quote, "Why do they keep asking us for our baskets, our bows, and our feather ornaments, while miners and farmers invade our land?" This one is pretty much a mini lesson on how touchscreens work. This one again is a little mini lesson, this time about the Event Horizon Telescope's image of a black hole. We've got the iridescence of butterfly wings. And here is a recent story from Physics Today, adapted to ask how far does a woodpecker's skull travel in a certain time. For this question, we want to work out the volume of this shape. And another cartoon. The kid is saying, hold on, when we learned Roman numerals, x was 10, now it's 6. What's going on around here? And we're asked which of these options contributes to the comic effect of the cartoon, with the correct answer being B, the student's certainty in his argument, challenging the teacher's authority. As an outsider, I actually think this exam is really cool and creative. It's almost like you learn new things from examples and anecdotes while you are taking it. Of course, though, as a stressed student, that might be the last thing you want. It is very competitive and selective, but on the scale of exams I've seen, it does seem interesting and kind of fun. That is, if you weren't fighting for your future while taking it. I think there likely is some effort from the writers to reduce the level of trauma that students will associate with learning. When exams are too dry, lifeless, and unrelated to current events, perhaps more students disengage or think these topics are just not for them. Identity is really important to everyone, especially young school-age students. Many Brazilians identify as Swifties, and including Taylor's lyrics as an example of literature will cause some fans to expand their identity to include studying for this exam as part of it. Many young fans might not otherwise realize that passionate debates with their friends about a song's lyrics are actually a form of literary analysis. Students who scored high enough on this first test will be moving on to the next stage of the exam in December, so good luck to all of you. Exams can be incredibly stressful, but then again, so can many things in life. That's why I have created a limited series of guided meditation videos over on my Patreon. I made these for everyone who's ever commented on my videos saying they found my voice relaxing. Meditation isn't just a way to reduce stress. It's also a great tool for staying focused and remembering what really matters to you. My meditation videos are 10 minutes long and take inspiration from math and physics, but in a lighthearted way, because meditation doesn't need to be too serious. Here's a short clip from one of the 3 sessions that are already available. During the day, your brain has lots of different thoughts. It's constantly noticing, seeing, sensing, and responding to external stimuli, and we are always coming up with new things for it to think about. If we draw that process over time, it will look like a squiggly line, jumping from one thought to the next, from here to there. The purpose of today's meditation will be to smooth out that line. If you'd like to meditate alongside me and support my channel, head over to my Patreon. Plus, there are some fun perks, like the chance to submit your pet to be featured on the end screen. Speaking of which, today's Patron Cat of the Day is Hetty. Thanks for watching.